welcome! Today I want to show you how to make an easy but effective platformer level like this. We will use Krita and I will show you how to make all of this stuff without knowing anything about art or without knowing anything about how colors work. And we will use 3 simple steps. At first I will show you how to choose the right colors. Second will be the easy but effective shapes. And the third will be bringing in some details. But time is rare, so let's get started. 1909 games. Let's make games. Part 1 will be to select a nice color palette, and as you see I just googled color palette and you will find a lot of websites where you can get some awesome color palettes. I've decided for Kmart.com and you can explore color combinations and you see a lot of different color combinations. Let's explore a color. So we don't have a theme, you know, and the first part with the color now will be about finding the right color theme, and we are pretty free. We could use something very bright like a magenta, but I don't know. I don't want it to have something that bright because I think it is harder to make anything look awesome when it is so bright. The color is so bright. That's why we want to choose this charcoal. I found this before just for testing, you know, and I really love these colors. It is like this gray with a little tint of blue, and I like to have some of these colors down here as well, so this brownish colors, to have a nice contrast. And it is that easy to find good colors. Believe me, just don't try to figure out by yourself which color palette you will use. Just search for one. It's so easy and it will make your life so much easier. Just copy it into our new file that we will create here in Krita. Krita is free, so it's open source, so everybody could use it, and it is an awesome drawing tool. And I will today just use my mouse and my keyboard. I will not use my graphic tablet because, well, I guess the most programmers or people without a lot of experience in art will not have a graphic tablet. I want to make it for like everybody. So let's create a new canvas, and as you see we have some brushes, and we will keep that also pretty basic. And let's paste it the picture as on the monitor, and let's make a new color palette. So you have down here you can search for your color palette and add a new one and name this color palette. And now we can choose different colors. So just pick an empty slot and edit this slot, and you see the color right here. You can click on it, and here you have a pipette. So use the pipette and choose your first color. Okay, and click OK. And you do this with all of this color, all the colors you want. Maybe you want a bigger palette. I like to keep it simple because you will be happy to have a simple color palette. Believe me, I just will pick all of them and we'll be right back. Okay, now we have our little color palette. Maybe it's even a little bit big, but we will just do it. Now you can delete the layer you have the picture on, and we have a background layer and a paint layer. And the first thing we want to do is we want to create a box. And as you see, we have our box tool right here, and we will choose a dark color, for example. And we have this brush, this basic one brush, and this brush is round. And if we now drag a box, we will have a box with round edges. Okay, let's undo it. If you have no size and you will do a box now, it is not with round edges. So we have the possibility to have, for example, okay, that looks not good, to have a box with pretty round edges or with not that round edges or something, you know, whatever you like. And that's great because you don't want just to have a box. Maybe you want, maybe it's good for your art, but in our case we want to have something with round edges. But let's start with our ground. The ground will be let's say not too dark, so let's go with the second darkest blue, and let's just drag a box. And because we want to make an interior scene, let's make the same on the top. And now we have a ground and the top of the room. Okay, that was pretty easy. Second thing, shapes. So the first shape is just a box. Okay, that's too big. Just for the ground, let's drag a box, and on the top another box, because we want to have the top, so we don't want to have like a free looking perspective. We want to have it in interior, you know, an interior. So let's make the bottom a little bit more, because maybe we want to have some UI elements down here. Or if you want to have it on the top of the screen, you could change it, okay, but that's not the problem. And I already did some mistake. So let's delete, erase the top, and let's make it on a separate layer, because it's just easier to have everything on a separate layer for the beginning, okay? So let's redo the box here. Okay, beautiful. And now we want to have some platforms, because let's say we make a platformer. For that, you could choose a nice radius for the platforms. That's too big. Let's go with something like that. And the platforms should be a little bit lighter than the foreground. Okay, and very important, make a new layer. Okay, so let's start by making a normal box. And now you can just do some shapes with this box tool. You don't need to do something special right now. Just start doing shapes like this. Okay, that's maybe not the best shape. Let's go with something like this. Maybe we want to have something like this. It looks not very good. It's just try and error. Okay, so. And I guess that will be all of our platforms. You could do a lot of more platforms, of course, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we will make, you know, just a few of them. So these are the basic shapes. And now we don't want to see them anymore, because we already have done them. It's the same with the foreground. And we want to have something for the background. So let's make a new layer. And let's keep the brush, make the radius a little bit smaller, because it's more far away. And now we need some really, really light colors, because the background should be lighter than the foreground. So the foreground should be dark, the background should be light. And just make some boxes, okay? Okay, we don't see them, so let's make the background just in a gray color. Make sure you're on the right layer. And now on the new layer, we want to have the box tool again. Choose the same color and just make some weird shapes. Squares are so good, you know? Easy shapes are the best. You could use them for everything. And if we now say, let's make a new layer on top of the background layer and make it white. So you see, maybe it is a little bit too light. So this color is not really good. So you could select the layer with pressing STRG and on this little picture, and then you have a selection of everything that's on the layer. And let's make it a little bit darker with the fill tool. And with STRG-D, you will unselect everything. Okay, so and now you see we have a little bit of a nice background. Let's see how it is with the foreground. Okay, I think it is a little bit too dark for a background, because now you see where is the background, where's the foreground. You could see it, but I think a little bit lighter would be nice. So what we could do is, let's deselect everything so that we don't see it anymore. Do the same like before. Use this fill tool, choose a white color and go down with the opacity. Okay, that's not enough. I guess something like 30% would be nice. And just test, you know, it's just about testing and try and error, and you will see that looks nice, but I guess we could do a little bit more. Oh, and like this, I think this is perfect. You know, now you see you have separated the background from the foreground, and the platforms you are able to jump on. But it looks a little bit boring. So let's make some shapes for pipes. Pipes, I think, will fit in the style pretty good. So let's take our normal brush, and now we see, let's test. Okay, that's too dark. You could test it. Oh, I think that's good for a little bit. So as more far you are in the background, so it should be lighter, but now we will go a little bit further to the camera. So let's make it a little bit darker. And you know, our first pipe could be something like this, just a straight line. So let's take this Bezier curve tool, drag it. So click and drag, and then you are able, you see what it is doing, you know? If you click and drag, it will make a line. And it will snap a little bit in the middle. Okay, then make another one. Click and drag. You know, then choose the direction. And here you can click and drag it just 45 degrees. and make a straight line. Press enter, and you see you have a pipe with a radius. And it's so easy to do something like that, and it makes the scene so much more alive. But that was stupid to have it on the same layer. So let's go back, make a new layer, use brush tool, and again do some pipe. And we could do the same again and again, and as you will guess, we just will have more pipes to put in the scene, and I like to have some variety. So let's make some more pipes. Okay, beautiful. We could reuse the pipes again and again, and we don't want to make too much right now. If you want to make a full game, you should do more than this a few pipes, but for one scene it will be enough, and I'm pretty happy with the result right now. Okay, so now we are done with the basic shapes. That was so easy, but it looks kind of boring, of course. So now the third part will come. Detail. Detail will bring so much to the scene. It will look so much better. But you can make a lot of mistakes right here, because if you overdo it, that's the only mistake you could do. Overdo stuff. There are so many possibilities to bring in some details. And as you have seen, we have the same color. Like everywhere, it's a blue with just different saturations. Now, when we come to the detail, we could use some different colors. I would like to start with some shadows. And let's start with the same thing we started at the beginning with the shapes. So we have just our foreground right here. And we have a soft brush, like this airbrush. And what we could do now is take a darker color, go to our right layer. Oh, this brush is a little bit too big. And just make a straight line. It's the same on the layer on top right here. Just make a straight line. So we have some basic shadows. And the same, let's do the same on top. Oh, no, sorry. Let's go to the right layer and make a selection. So, and it's the same on our other layer right here. And to bring in some highlight, let's pick a brighter color. Decrease the size of the brush and the opacity a little bit. And like this, we have some beautiful... Oh, let's make the brush a little bit smaller. You know, we have some highlights. And I think that looks pretty much better than before, immediately. With just some kind of shadows. And you could use some kind of different brushes, like texture brushes. I have downloaded some a while ago. I don't know where I got them exactly, but just imagine you have something like this and you want to have a little bit roughness, you know, and then you can use a brush like this and make the same. Make it just a line. Okay, that's a little bit too big. And go over it once and twice, you know, and like this. It is looking like not that clean, you know, but I like it clean for the moment because it's much more easy like that. You can just use these two brushes and you are done. So let's just go with the clean style. Okay, next we have the platforms. So let's just select the platforms, make a selection, beautiful. And let's bring in some shadows as well. We just don't have an easy shape like before, so it is a pretty easy shape, but a little bit more complicated than the other one. And we could just go in and say, okay, the shadow is coming from this side, and just make sure you're having the shadow facing the same direction in all your stuff, okay? So don't decide to make, you know, this. You know, it is now a shadow from the bottom and the left side, and on this one on the right side, you know, that would look weird. So just do the shadows on the same direction all the time. I think that looks kind of beautiful. I would really like to have on a new layer some more detail. So let's make the brush a little bit bigger. And bring in some shadows here, and now we can erase a little bit. So let's use the erase tool with a not very soft brush And on top we erase a little bit. And like this we have it very soft, and on top we have it really hard. So it brings some variety in, okay? Okay, I really like it. And now let's bring in some detail with our different colors right here. So we have our platforms, and I think pipes would look pretty nice because we have pipes before. So let's make a new layer. We have a pretty big brush. Let's make the size a little bit smaller. And now we just can go over the... Oh. So at first deselect everything, and then we can go over the edges like this. And we have something that looks like pipes, right? So, okay, that's not very nice. So let's go down here. Okay, that's too big. And as well, right here, we should see that we don't overdo stuff, okay? So don't do too much of this kind of detail. And it is looking pretty flat. So let's bring in some shadows. So make a selection. Use the soft brush, should be pretty small. And now we can use the darker color, like here. And oh, we used the darker color. Okay, so now we should, let's say we have opacity. A trick is to have something like this, you know, you're putting a soft brush on top of your other color that is darker, like here, and use this color. So like this, you are not making too much mess with your color palette, okay? So you use the colors you already have. And now look at that. That looks pretty awesome, right? Okay, and on top as well, don't do too much. And we have a pretty light color, and let's make it a little bit lighter. I think it should be lighter, and give it some highlights, you know, so bring down the opacity a little bit, and this brush size, okay. Yeah, let's bring it down a little bit and go a little bit, you know, like this, not too far to the bottom, but not too high, not too low. Just try and error, you know, just test where the line look pretty good. Okay, so you have some lines, some soft lines that will make a shadow, you know. That's basically this simple lines. Just straight lines will make shadow and light for you, okay? So like this, we have some pretty nice looking pipes around our platforms. I really like it, but we are missing some texture. So let's go down here and use a texture brush. They are all coming with Krita, so we can just use them. Okay, that's too much. Okay, let's use this color. Yeah, oh yeah, that looks great. Use a bluish kind of color, and okay, not on the whole thing. Let's make straight lines again. Okay, that's too big, maybe a little bit. So, like this. Oh yeah, that looks pretty nice. Don't do the whole platforms, but you know, on the bottom a little bit. And I know that's maybe too much, so we can go down with the... Oh, I used the wrong layer. So that's why we use more than one layer. Now we can use this new layer and go down with the opacity. So we can see it like this. We can see it better, you know, with the high opacity. But, you know, I think that's too much. So now we can go down with the opacity. So we have some texture, but it is not too much. Okay, so like this. Okay, I really like this. And let's go back to our platform layer. And I think the top of our platforms should be dark as well. Yeah, like this. I think that looks pretty nice. You also could make it with different colors so that, you know, it will look different to everything else. So if you do it with a red or something, you should see that, so the player should see then where to walk on, you know. But I think in this case it's really enough, and now we can make some shadows for the pipes. So let's go a little bit under the pipes like this. Oh, at first let's select our layer right here. So, you know, we bring in some kind of shadows, and we should put them on top of our texture so we can see it better. Oh yeah, that's better. So shadow and light, that's pretty simple for details, right? But I think after that we are done with our platforms, because as I told you, you can overdo stuff with details so quickly. So bring down the opacity a little bit. But like this, we have nice looking platforms with basic shapes that are simple to make, but look pretty good, I guess. I think they are pretty good for not a lot of time, you know. We don't spend too much time for that. Okay, let's select everything, merge with the layer below, and now we can select everything together. What else do we have? We have the top. Okay, let's keep it like it is for the moment. The bottom, I guess we should use some kind of pipes as well. So let's go with our paint layer right here, and let's bring in some, okay, let's make a new layer. And we could do the same with some pipes, okay? We need the not that soft brush. Okay, so like this, we have some pipes, and one that is a little bit smaller maybe. Okay, that's enough. We don't need more. So now we need shadows. And some kind of lights. Okay, that's okay. I think we should make them a little bit darker. So let's as well use this darker color we used for the platforms and make the bottom even darker. Okay, so oh yeah, that's better, you know, because it looked a little, oh, make this a little bit bigger. It looked a little bit too light, so the shadows, you couldn't see the shadows very well. And now we have some pipes for the foreground. Looks great, I like it. Okay, so, and let's see how everything will look together right now. Okay, at all, it looks pretty nice. So we have a nice scene, but I think the background should have some detail. Not that much like the foreground, but a little bit of detail is not too bad. So let's select these three layers. Okay, so let's start with these two pipes. Let's choose a different color and make the same like before. Just bring in some shadows, okay? Okay, and now we can make some highlights as we have done in everything else. So let's go in, make a small brush size, and a straight line. Next layer. Okay, that's not really perfect. Let's redo it. I'm not happy with that. Okay. Beautiful. Now we have some pipes for the background. Let's bring in some of the same texture we had before. Okay, let's select this color and make it a little bit darker. Okay, so that was not the best idea. So brush. Let's go with this texture brush. Okay, that's pretty nice. Just bring in some texture on the bottom or wherever you want. Maybe on the top. Maybe you want something else. Maybe you don't want to have texture like this and want to have scratches or something like. You know, you could go in and say, okay, let's make the brush very, very small, and we have some scratches like this. I don't like it too much, but you know, like this, it looks great, right? Okay, so now let's bring everything together. Okay, so deselect, and that looks pretty nice, hey. But I guess we should make the background even lighter, because look at this section right here, where you have, in this section, you know, we have the contrast between the platform and the pipes is not big enough. So what we could do in a case like this, make a new layer on top of our last pipes and make it just white. Okay, so deselect everything and fill it with a white color. And yeah, you know, we can go down with the opacity and make it step by step lighter. Okay, I think that's pretty nice. And like this we have a great looking scene. And we could import this to Unity pretty easy. For example, Unity. I mean, there are a lot of different opportunities you could use so much. Okay, but let's say we use Unity. So in this case, let's just deselect everything and make everything step by step. Okay, so we have our background platforms. Okay, so I already created a 2D project in Unity, so let's make a new folder. Let's call it sprites. Open it up and show in Explorer. Just copy and paste the path. Okay, and let's call it background platforms. And make this with all of your layers. Pick everything, put it in our sprites folder, choose everything. It is a sprite UI. Okay, so our image is not that big, so that's okay. Use crunch compression to make them a little bit smaller. Oh, you know, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, and we set the sprite mode now to multiple and apply it again. And open the sprite editor, and we want to slice it so that it is not one image, but that every single thing right here is a separate image. So set slice and press slice. And if you have done a good picture, you know, you have it just right and apply it. Okay, beautiful. And if you now see this picture and you have all the separate things. Okay, we do the same with all of our sprites. Okay, it's white. We don't need to do that. We don't have a background, right? So let's just pretty quickly make one. So let's go in and say, let's fill it with a pretty bright bluish kind of color. And let's make some beautiful texture. Okay, let's use just something like this. So let's use a brush, make it pretty big. You know, like this, but make a new layer, makes the opacity a little bit lower. Okay, so this will be our background that will not move, so that's nice, right? And a pure white, just a little bit of pure white. So that looks awesome. So let's export it in our sprites folder and let's call it just background. Okay, and now what we could do is, if we go to our game view, you see we have a nice background where we drag and drop it in. And we can do it with the ground, for example, you know. And the great thing about this is, you know, you could make it bigger or smaller, but not in the height, of course, you know, that would change the dimensions. We have it just in the horizontal direction, we have something, so we could make it bigger or smaller. So the lines are just horizontal. That's so good in this case. And here let's go with, okay, we have this pipe. Let's bring it sorting order like 500 because it will be really, really far in the foreground. Okay, like. And if you follow this really simple rules with the color, simple shapes, and just bringing in some details, you will have a result that will look great. That will look at least somehow a little bit of gray. Maybe your first environment will not be the best, but you will get better. But don't do the mistake and just do environments and don't do anything with them. Just make a game from example, this environment. For me, that was just for the purpose of learning, but I should do a little game, at least a little game from this platforms. That would be pretty nice. That would make fun, you know? I would love it, but I will not make it right now. I'm sorry. Okay, I hope I see you next time. Bye.